Hello, my name's Gary Pykitt, author of Shifting Sands, that was published in June of last year. One of the first things that you'll read on the back cover of this is, do you feel as if the ground beneath your feet is constantly shifting? At the moment, I think it's probably safe to say we're all feeling that as we're battling our way through this situation and working out what the new normal is going to look like for the next few weeks and months ahead. Um, you know, things are ever evolving in education, and the title of my book, I hope, encapsulates that. And it was one of the first things that came to mind when I came up with the title, that it does very often feel like we're walking on these shifting sands, and it's very difficult knowing where things are going to go. It's very unpredictable. Um, it's unpredictable at the best of times, not least these unprecedented times with COVID-19 knocking around. Um, what I've been really heartened by over the last few weeks is the amount of support that is out there, that people are really pulling together, showing support in a whole range of different ways in education. The response has been phenomenal, with adaptations to provision of online teaching, lots of web-based materials, lots of stuff going around through social media, people really doing their bit to try and help as much as they can. At the moment, I think we're fairly early into this situation, and we're getting used to it, and we're dealing with the here and now. What I do think is that over time the issues will move on, things will change a little bit. But what I'm hoping longer term from this is that all of the learning that's going on as a result of this issue will actually be transferable and translatable into other issues. There's been a whole raft of resources published by a whole range of organisations, and I'll give you some examples of those in a few moments. They very much, as I'm reading them, link into other things that already exist and issues that already exist. And in the book, I talk about radicalisation and issues around dealing with scary world news and the news about terrorist activity. And again, many of those principles about minimising children's exposure to news content, giving them that balanced understanding of what's going on in the news, and so on, can apply to this context as well. So I think some of the learning that comes from the resources produced in relation to COVID-19, I think certainly will be transferable to other issues longer term. Obviously I didn't address the issue of a pandemic in the book. Could never have predicted that one coming. But there are a number of key themes related to the topics that I do explore in there, that I think are particularly noteworthy at this moment in time. First one being safeguarding, very much at the heart of everybody in education's thinking at the moment, in terms of, are children safe? Are they being looked after appropriately? Are there issues which might happen as a result of this time when they're not in school, or not in school as much? Obviously, we've got issues there that link in terms of online safety and those inevitable links that occur. They certainly come to the fore, not least due to the fact that children are going to be accessing a lot of their resources online. They'll probably be spending more time online. And actually, do parents and carers fully understand the range of issues which can take place online? People who I know have read this and have bought it have said to me, it's really scary, isn't it? Some of the stuff that we're having to deal with and some of the stuff that's out there. But equally, they've been also very, very sort of grateful that they've actually had their awareness raised. So I certainly think that online safety is an issue which we need to be aware of. We need to talk about this with our parents and carers as well, because again, there's been a lot of focus on actually getting the teaching resources and materials ready and getting all of the logistics done. But actually now starting to think about some of those other issues which are going to come to play here. There is some excellent stuff. LGFL, London Grid for Learning, have recently published some excellent resources to help children keep safe, and that's at coronavirus.lgfl.net/safeguarding. The Southwest Grid for Learning, SWGFL. Again, that explores issues around cyber security and some of the scams that are going on. And again, just heightening awareness of the things to be aware of. Another key issue that needs to be considered is mental health and well-being. And I'm going to talk about that firstly in relation to teachers and any education staff, because, you know, this is a time of unprecedented change. It's a time of uncertainty, and, you know, we're all adapting to this new, albeit temporary, normal. And we need to consider our well-being as part of that as well. We need to make sure that we're taking regular breaks. We need to make sure that we're maintaining appropriate communication with colleagues, with friends, and also that we're able to switch off from work, because, you know, it's very easy when you're sat in your dining room, as I am now, or in a home office or wherever you are, to not switch off. Action for Happiness, I've always thought are a fantastic organisation. Their most current calendar that was published for today, for April the 1st, addresses issues around COVID-19 through their active coping calendar for April. And today's action that they suggest is being calm and making a plan to keep calm, and also to stay in contact. And I think that sort of resource is quite a useful thing, just to enable you to step back and just think about, right, what am I doing? How can I help myself through this? And how can I help others? I'd certainly recommend that. And again, it's one to probably share with parents, carers and colleagues, making sure that we keep in touch with them. It might be making other adaptations. You know, my journey to work is now significantly shorter than I'm used to. So it's making other adaptations and thinking about how you can engage in perhaps different activities. For example, the RSPB, their breakfast bird watch, or watching a live stream of a theatre show that you've not seen before. That can help to provide those moments of calm and just break up what could potentially be quite a monotonous time. Undoubtedly, it's a very concerning time for us all, and it's really important that we limit our news intake whilst keeping aware, and doing that to enable us to take an informed but balanced approach to all of this. The Children's Commissioner, they've produced a really excellent guide to coronavirus aimed at children, which explains things, but does so in a child-friendly and an appropriate way. Iniki Safeguarding Group, they've produced a resource explaining coronavirus using images and Makaton. The NSPCC, like I said earlier on, they've developed their work around resources for having difficult conversations with children. Organisations such as Family Links have got a free download page for parents on a range of issues, including mental health, well-being, online safety. All of these things are readily accessible and available. Again, charities like Childline, some fantastic resources on there linked specifically to the coronavirus, but again, be thinking about how this is going to impact the longer term. CBBC Newsround, explaining things in child-friendly ways. A really helpful podcast which I listened to a couple of weeks ago by Dr. John Goldin on the 19th of March, which is on the Association for Child and Adolescent Mental Health website, which looks at the coronavirus and children's mental health. There is a whole load of stuff out there at the moment. I think, you know, the issues which are explored in here are valid and very applicable to the now. There are things which have been produced which bring things right up to date with relation to this particular issue. But what I'd be saying all the time is think about how that learning can apply to other contexts going forward. I hope that's been a bit of a useful 10 minutes or so. Like I say, please do get in touch through Critical Publishing if you want to. but keep sharing the resources that are there and doing the fantastic job you're doing. Thanks very much. Bye bye.